Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham dhammam sangham namasami. Good evening, dear friends. This is the regular Wednesday night Sutta program at the Empty Cloud Monastery. In our continuing reflection on the Satipatthana Sutta, we have come up to the section about the Bojjhangas, the 7 factors of awakening. And so I thought of choosing a sutta that would be very practical in helping to understand how to work with that particular practice, how to establish and nourish the factors of awakening. Before I read the sutta that we advertised, which is called the Kaya Sutta, about the body, and this is number 46.2 in the linked discourses. It's part of the chapter on the factors of awakening. I would like to read you a few sentences from some other different suttas that will prove to you about why this set of practices is called factors of awakening. Why are these factors said to lead to enlightenment? Okay, here's one. This is in the same chapter about the awakening factors. The Buddha is speaking of 4 kinds of deeds. This is number in the Anguttara, this is 4.238 in the Course. So the Buddha points out 4 kinds of deeds. What are the dark deeds with dark results? It's when someone makes a hurtful choice by way of body, speech, and mind. These are called dark deeds with dark results. And what are the bright deeds with bright results? It's when someone makes pleasing choices by way of body, speech, and mind. These are called the bright deeds. And what are the dark and bright deeds with dark and bright results? It's when someone makes both hurtful and pleasing choices by way of body, speech, and mind. These are called dark and bright deeds with dark and bright results. So these are karmas that we're doing. And then, what are the neither dark nor bright deeds with neither dark nor bright results, which lead to the ending of deeds? The awakening factors of mindfulness, investigation of principles, energy, rapture, tranquility, immersion, and equanimity. So these factors of awakening are called neither dark nor bright. They're not producing a karma to take you to a heavenly birth. They're not producing a karma to take you to a lower birth or a painful result. Instead, these are the kind of deeds that lead to the end of creating any more karma, the end of rebirth. So that's showing you that this is another way of expressing what enlightenment is. Here's another one. We're back in the Samyutta, and the Nibbeda Sutta is about penetration, which is in a reference to penetrating insight. The question is, how are the 7 awakening factors developed and cultivated so as to lead to penetration? And here, the answer is, they develop, this applies to each one of the factors. They develop the awakening factor of mindfulness, which relies on seclusion, fading away, and cessation. It ripens as letting go, and it is abundant, expansive, limitless, and free of ill will. How much meaning is packed into that one sentence? Seclusion is seclusion from distractions of everyday life, seclusion from the hindrances or all the unwholesome or negative, toxic patterns of the mind. And finally, seclusion from all of the grasping, the taking up, which is creating an identity view and carrying us along to the next life, secluded from all of those things. And then with the experience of that seclusion, we see that there's a fading away of the raga, which is the sensual desire. So sensual desire naturally fades away. And then we experience the cessation of dukkha, the cessation of suffering. And then the full accomplishments is translated as letting go. The Pali word is vosaka. And that's when the process becomes irreversible. When you've let go of those negative mind states, and you wouldn't pick them up again. You've let go of the sensual craving, and it's not going to bother you again. So you're not picking it up again. And then this last phrase is about the boundless meditation, which is sometimes used in terms of meditation on loving kindness and the Brahma Viharas, which is having the thought of kindness and compassion in all directions without any boundary, any limitation. And also a similar expression can be used for meditation on emptiness or other kinds of secluded meditation, like the immaterial meditations, like the meditation on infinite space or infinite consciousness and so on. Those also have that quality of being expansive and limitless, but in particular, one has mentioned that it's free of ill will. So this is a pointer to loving kindness and the Brahma Viharas. So it should be a natural result of developing the factors of awakening. Side effect along the way is that ill will and resentment is taken out. And with a mind that has developed this awakening factor, they penetrate and shatter the mass of greed, the mass of hate, and the mass of delusion for the first time. So that's a description of enlightenment, where the roots of suffering, greed, hatred, and delusion, are shattered and destroyed. And so for the same, in the sutta, the same phrase is repeated for each one of the factors of awakening. So that's how we want to practice it. Here's another one. This is about the mindfulness of breathing. And it says, you should develop the mindfulness of breathing together with the awakening factors. So you're breathing together with each one of these factors. And while you're practicing the breath, you're experiencing mindfulness is there, investigation is there, energy, rapture, tranquility, and immersion are all there with each breath. With each breath in, with each breath out, all of those factors are present. And here again, it's got the same idea that this seclusion, fading away, cessation, ripening and letting go is present with that practice. And I'm going to save this one for later and come to the main sutta for today, which is the Kaya Sutta, the one about the body. Mendicants, this body is sustained by food. It depends on food to continue, and without food, it doesn't continue. In the same way, the 5 hindrances are sustained by fuel. They depend on fuel to continue, and without fuel, they don't continue. We see this in the Samyutta in several places. The hindrances and the bojjhangas, the nivarana and bojjhanga, the hindrances and factors of awakening, are paired together in the same treatment. So they're 2 sides of the same coin, right? What fuels the arising of sensual desire, or when it has arisen, makes it increase and grow? Okay, there is the feature of beauty. It's called the nimitta of beauty. Frequent yoniso manasikara, in Bhante Sujata's translation, irrational application of mind to the sign of beauty. It's irrational because it thinks that what is impermanent is permanent. It thinks that that which is actually suffering, you think is pleasant. You think that something that is without a self, or without any enduring essence, has a self or has an enduring essence. So that's what makes an irrational attention to the sign of beauty, which would cause the grasping after those beautiful objects and proliferation of desire. I don't like Bhikkhu Sujata's translation because I believe that wise attention, that's also another translation, Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation, that it's both very rational and objective, but it's also intuitive and deep. So it's not just like a mechanical process, like something rational, like doing your math homework, but it's something more deep than that. What fuels the arising of ill will? Okay, so there is the feature of harshness, patika. That is the thing that just is irritating. It's like a sense it's almost like a sensory kind of a thing that you would feel it. And you could be, if you look at anything in the room and you see that something is out of place. And if you're in an aversive mood, you just are disturbed by that. Or if you think that something should be a certain way and it's not the way you think it should be, if you're in an aversive state, or many other things, that if there's anything that you actually dislike, if you've got that aversive tendency. So frequent ayoniso. There's another aspect of this ayoniso manasikara, unwise attention. Yoniso manasikara is deep attention that is paying attention to things in terms of the roots of where it comes from. That's why the logo that I did for today's sutta had an image of a tree where you could see the roots under the ground. So wise attention sees things in terms of the flow of causation. It sees how things are arising from their causes and sees what they're leading to. Ayoniso, or unwise attention, just looks at the surface and it doesn't look underneath to see where it came from. Okay, so then what fuels the arising of dullness and drowsiness? A discontent, sloth, yawning, sleepiness after eating, and mental sluggishness. Frequent irrational application of the mind or unwise attention to those it makes them increase. So if you believe in your sleepiness, if you believe in your laziness, if you believe that you're weak, if you believe that you don't have any energy, that you don't have any strength, that's what would be the result of that unwise attention. But if you think you don't welcome these qualities, then you try to arrange your life to remove these qualities. So making your life less stressful can reduce sluggishness and sleepiness. Being physically fit, having enough exercise, can reduce sluggishness. Not overeating and chewing the food, being aware of the kind of food that's good for your body, and not taking the type of food that might make you feel a little bit sick. That would avoid. So this is just a common self-care. So you realize these are not desirable qualities, not good for practice, not supportive for meditation. So while you're trying to practice meditation, don't do the lifestyle that makes you exhausted. Okay. And then what fuels the arising of restlessness and remorse? And causes, when it's risen, causes it to increase and grow. And here, it is simply saying, there is the unsettled mind, and frequent irrational application of the mind to that fuels the restlessness and remorse. So if a person, this is particularly in context of meditation, if it's difficult to meditate because of being worried, if it's difficult to meditate because something happened that makes you feel embarrassed, and you are like trying to turn it over in the mind to rewrite history and make that thing to be not so embarrassing. or if it's simply a physical restlessness because of pain or any other reason. So there's a way that in meditation you can take the bait with those things and just be sitting in meditation, finding it very difficult to stay still and hold the constant posture in meditation because of restlessness. And if you, in a certain way, like give in or take the bait or believe in all of those factors, you could choose that instead of practicing meditation, that you'll sit on the meditation cushion worrying about your problems, or worrying about the painful bodily feelings, or worrying about the restless bodily feelings. And that's irrational, unwise application of the mind to restlessness. But if you very briefly acknowledge any of those things that are difficult or unwanted, you, with compassion, you acknowledge that that's happening. But then direct the mind in a way that doesn't support the proliferation of those states. So direct the mind towards an inspiring theme. Or if one part of the body is painful, direct the mind, the attention towards a part of the body which is not so painful. And I think we had something about this just recently, about how to, when restlessness is there, use the inspiring meditation theme to overcome that restlessness and make the mind calm. And then after that, one can return to the basic practice. Then there's the arising of doubt, what fuels it and what makes it grow. And there are things that are the grounds for doubt. We know that there are wholesome questions when if you really don't know, maybe there's some part of the Dhamma, you've read about it in the suttas, but you don't personally understand it. Taking an intellectual and skeptical approach to try to work that out may not be the best way. That may be the best way if you can be comfortable saying, oh, with respect to this aspect of the Dhamma, I don't know. And just let that be something that, for the moment, is not known. And then as you develop in the practice, that it could be that then the clarity about that aspect of the Dhamma may come to you. If you have an attitude of disrespect for the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, that would definitely feed and nourish a skeptical doubt towards the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. So having an attitude which is respectful and appreciative also denourishes that. So this is about the same way that the 5 hindrances are sustained by fuel. They depend on fuel to continue. Without fuel, they don't continue. So you can't, in this case, the suggestion is You may not be able to use force to cut off and destroy the hindrance because it's there because of the previous causes and conditions. But if you can find the skillful way to stop nourishing that hindrance, then gradually that hindrance will fade away. It will become weaker and weaker and weaker. And then finally it will break and will be gone. Now we come to the 7 factors of awakening. They're also sustained by fuel. What fuels the arising of mindfulness, or when it has arisen, fully develops it. It is the things which are the grounds for the factors for the mindfulness. In that case, the Tana is here in the Pali, Bojjhanga Tana. So that's the same as Satipatthana. That's the same thing. It's the base, the establishment. And so the 4 foundations of mindfulness. So learning how to discern and perceive and clearly be aware of what's going on with the body, with the feelings, with the states of mind, and with one's direct and personal experiential knowledge of the Dhammas. That is the ground, and giving wise attention to those things is nourishing the growth of mindfulness. So it's not that difficult you may not be able to instantly, push a button and come to the perfection of the awakening factor of mindfulness, but you can pay attention to the body, pay attention to the feelings, and that's giving the nourishment for that factor to develop and grow. And then the next is the awakening factor of the investigation of principles. That's the investigation of Dhammas, or when that factor has arisen, fully develops it. So Dhamma Vichaya, that's investigation, and in a very sensible kind of way, I think it's quite meaningful to, even though, we have faith in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. So if the Buddha said all things are impermanent, all things are unsatisfactory, and therefore you wouldn't be willing to call any of that the self. So you've got, if you're a faith follower, you've got faith that it must be true because the Buddha told us this so many times. Again and again, he told us. But then you should also have a desire to find out for yourself whether that's true or not. So that's what that Dhamma Vichaya is, to take the Dhamma that you've heard, what's been pointed out by the Buddha, what's been pointed out in the suttas, what's been pointed out by wise Dhamma teachers or people who are familiar with Dhamma. Take those things that you've heard and find out for yourself whether it's true or not. In particular, at this level of the practice, they give a very helpful tip. There are qualities that are skillful and unskillful, blameworthy and blameless, inferior and superior, those on the side of the dark and bright. You remember just a few minutes ago, I spoke of the dark states and the bright states, and also the kama that's leading to neither dark nor bright. So how do you know the difference between good and evil? How do you know the difference between skillful and unskillful? You could memorize the precepts that you've taken, and you could, if you're a bhikkhu or a bhikkhuni, you could study the many aspects of the precepts in deportment that's indicated to actually refine the sense of ethical behavior. And then you also, at the same time, because you're mindful, you'll look within and you know how it feels in the heart. You've got an intuitive knowledge, not only what follows the rules, but what is kind, what is harmless, what is prudent, what is gentle, if possible, and if it has to be strong, what's done at the right time with the right kind of consideration, with the right kind of motivations, and that you've learned how to see that the Chaitana, the intention within, is what determines what color all of the thoughts, words, and deeds happen because of the intention. So you'll learn how to become more and more clear about what's the quality of the ethical quality of the intentions that we carry. So that's the specific practice, activity. Anybody can do this, and that nourishes until this feature of investigation of principles comes up and develops until it becomes fully manifested as a quality of awakening. The next one is the awakening factor of energy, which is virya. That's associated with effort. It's associated with right effort. Virya is associated with the English word hero. And so I think about virya is, when can we become a hero? Up to that full extent. And you may think, oh, I'm too weak, I'm not able. I don't have it yet, I don't feel like a hero. So, or I don't feel like I have enough strength, enough energy. So this is the most useful breakdown. It's so helpful. There are these elements. It's called initiative, persistence, and exertion. Arambadhatu, Nikamadhatu, and Parakamadhatu. So if you sometimes it's hard to get going. You want to do something, but for some reason it's difficult to get started on doing it. Like it often is because you don't know how, or there's some kind of a resistance that you have. It's hard to get started, And so the first kind of energy is the energy of starting. So when you're standing still, you got to start. So if you're in the car, you got to turn on the ignition and press the gas pedal and start the car. So you've got many, many examples. Every morning, you get up out of bed every single morning. And for those people who had jobs to do, you showed up to do your job. And so you've already done this hundreds of thousands of times in your life. You've started. And so if you just remember that, you remember how to start, and then start. And then once you start, then you've got to go and you've got to keep going. So you step on the gas and you're going somewhere. You're going to California. And then you got to keep going until you get there. So don't stop halfway. Don't go like a little bit and then peter out, but continue. So also there's many times that you had things to do and you didn't give up halfway through. You kept on going. I think a wonderful example for that is if anybody has been a parent, if you have children, you can't give up part way with raising your child. You've got to keep going with all of the many difficulties and challenges that come with the whole lifespan of a child until they're able to fly out of the nest. That a normal parent will keep going and just do whatever is necessary, and it's more than they even imagined that it would take to raise a child. And so that's an idea of persistence. And then this idea of exertion, Parakamādhatu, that's an idea of, that's where the real hero thing comes. That's like the excelling. That's doing what you never did before, going beyond what you've done before. So if you just have a good visualization for those three types of energy, and then you're like mindfully aware, like what's the state of mind when you're calling up that different kind of energy for what you're doing in meditation or what you're doing in the Dhamma, and intentionally become more energetic. If something is good to do, don't hesitate. Do it. Do it with energy. Do it with strength. Do it with persistence. And if you practice that, that is the nourishment that is feeding the awakening factor of energy. And then the last one is the Piti, which is translated here as rapture. That's the state of, it can be a powerful, blissful state that can arise during meditation when one has gained a certain amount of seclusion, a certain amount of unification of the mind, a certain amount of stillness, where then it's no longer necessary to be like constantly make an effort to stay with the meditation, because the mind is like it's in the groove and it's able to easily remain with the meditation. And then with that state can come this piti. I like to translate it as a joyful interest, and that signifies that it's a spiritual joy or a mental joyful state that comes in meditation. And the grounds for that are all of the factors we've studied them many times. This one is approaching meditation and becoming able to knowing how to gladden the mind, based on having a good sila, having protected your ethics, having developed confidence that you can gladden the mind, you can rejoice in your faith in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. You can rejoice by taking up an inspiring theme of meditation or a theme of contemplation, contemplating loving kindness, contemplating that kind of a divine meditation to gladden the mind, and then learn how to set the adhitthana for entering meditation. Everything that we do, all of that, those are all the factors that are grounds for the awakening factor of rapture. So paying attention to all of the preparation. You see, everything we're doing here, we're never just reaching for the golden ring and grabbing the thing we want, but instead we're nourishing the ground by doing the practices so that the thing that we want is able to grow. The next one is the awakening factor of tranquility. Passaddhi. This journey to the goal that we're aiming for is a long and winding journey, and is characterized by what we let go of, rather than what we picked up and gained. And so then that tranquil heart is the heart that has that supreme quality of patience, that because of not clinging to anything, then whatever happens, whatever comes along, that there's not any disturbance. So the mind is not disturbed with whatever happens, whether pleasant feelings, unpleasant feelings. They are able to, with calmness, to bear that. And so then having, in this case, suggesting the cultivation of tranquility of body and tranquility of mind. The next one is the factor of immersion or samadhi. And the things that are the base for serenity are samatha, and the things that are the base for freedom from distraction. So those are the two qualities that we're looking for. So we know that this in this practice, there are the two sides, the samatha and the vipassana. So the opening up of the wisdom and the stillness I always feel that the stillness, the calmness, the samatha is very much related to the denourishing, allayment, calming down of greed and aversion. So one is not pulled and pulled by wanting something, not wanting to get rid of something, by liking something or disliking something. It's a kind of, it's sort of like the joy. This is kind of like maybe a mundane kind of equanimity. That whatever happens, it's all right. At one time, back at my home place, I sometimes used to go to one particular sitting group that would invite me to go there a couple of times a year to speak to them. And it was a very elderly group of meditators. So everybody in the room was like, it seemed like all of them were at least 60 years old, between like 60 and 90 years old. And I mentioned that there's a kind of naturally in the older years of life, there can be a kind of happiness of equanimity that when we were teenagers or young adults or young people, there was so much passion, so much liking and disliking, so much up and down, so much strong emotion. But then, sort of in the natural course of a human being in the later years, then there is something that's natural that whatever happens, it says, okay, it's happened before. It'll happen again. Been there, done that. No need to get excited about it. So, and then that, but that quality of recognizing that serenity is not a state which is dull, not a state which is like flat or dead or something like that. Instead, it's a truly profoundly happy but fully calm state. So the cultivation of shamatha by way of meditation, and also the cultivation of wisdom, both contribute to serenity. When you got the wisdom of fully understanding that everything's impermanent, then you will naturally be serene, because you won't be surprised by anything. You know it's all impermanent. You've already finished with all your grieving for the disappearance of the things that are changing. And so you don't need to be upset or disturbed. So giving wise attention to whatever is supportive for serenity. I should have said before, the tranquility of the body and tranquility of the mind. I know this, but I forgot to mention it at the right time. In the commentary, it says it one way. I don't quite agree with this. That the citta is the mind, and the feelings and perceptions are the body. And so it's trying to make a distinction between the citta and all of the other parts of the mental factors. the citta is very often used in context of the state, developing the state of mind that's to be experienced within meditation. So the liberation of the citta is an experience of deep meditation. So it's kind of like a technical, or it's just how it's used. And then when you talk about the body, the kaya, this is something that we've been developing on an insight into this within this Satipatthana retreat. I've spoken several times about this, that kaya is not just like the meat part of the body, but it's the living physical material body endowed with the six senses. So the kaya, in a way, is like the personal, one's person. If you thought that all there was the material body, if you didn't believe that there was anything beyond that, if you didn't have an idea about rebirth, if you were purely materialistic, what you would have left would be this kaya, and that's so it's everything that you experience as being personal. So if you are obsessed with defending your person, protecting your person, providing for the life, safety, health, and nothing to impinge or interfere with your person, then you'll be somebody who's continuously on guard, trying to defend and protect themselves. But then if you are able to see through the idea of being the owner of your person, being the owner of your body, and it's not just the meat part of the body, but being the owner of everything that you think of as being yourself. So I'm associating tranquility of the body being tranquility of all of the formations and proliferations that a person can have about me and mine, about the self. And so that self-delusion breaks up, and one no longer is concerned about that. So whatever happens, you just you know it at the deep level. It's not personal. It's just the flow of causes and conditions, the flow of results, the flow of what's being experienced by this bundle of aggregates, which is not personal. So that's the tranquility of the body, and then the tranquility of the mind is the state of citta, that the pure citta, which is inherently luminous, and when it's not covered by adventitious defilements, that's the citta, is the luminosity of the mind, and that's where the tranquility lies. Okay. So then, doing what you have to do to develop a samadhi as much as you can. I'm quite aware that of the people who listen to these talks, there's a lot of people who are busy with their responsibilities and jobs and so forth. And I also realize, when I first got started in the Dhamma, the very first thing that happened was I started attending retreats, like a day-long retreat, a weekend retreat, a 10-day retreat, many 10-day retreats, many 30-day retreats, many 3-month retreats. And then since 2022, we had COVID, and a lot of people stopped attending meditation retreats. And some people have discovered the Dhamma and came to Buddhism and became interested in Buddhism, and they're trying to meditate at home. But it's really, really, really beneficial to attend meditation retreats if you want to develop samadhi. The Buddha recommended that lay people would have on the Apostata days, which would be the Apostata is on the lunar calendar. It's the first and the second. It's the first and 15 of the month is the moon day, and they recommend that you could take a retreat on that day and also the day before, and if you want to be really enthusiastic, the day after. So you take 3 days off twice a month, or the Buddha recommended also taking 7 days off, and so he definitely recommended taking time away from one's usual responsibilities for meditation retreats. I once read a book by a wonderful Japanese writer who was talking about the traditional lifestyle of the Japanese farmers, and they would work very hard during the season growing their crops, but then in the wintertime, there was a period of time, a couple of months, 3 months, when the farmer is not able to do any farming. So in that case, he said the farmers would stay home and write poetry. So the natural life cycle of a human is not normal to be working a 9 to 5 or being on call for your job 24 hours a day, and have merely 1 or 2 weeks in the whole year of time off. Our ancient ancestors, before agriculture was developed, our ancient ancestors had a lot of time to rest. People didn't used to labor and slave away like slaves all the time, and that's not our nature. It's not our fate. We should take retreat, and retreat helps to, in combination with the knowledge of how to meditate, taking the time, doing what has to be done to be able to dispel the negative factors, the hindrances, in order to gain samadhi. And just do all that, and then samadhi arises, and then emerging from samadhi comes equanimity, which is the final. That's the ultimate part of the factors of awakening, and the equanimity is a state that is both as unshakable as a mountain and also as light as a breeze. it's a state that is arising from wisdom, so that because of having through wisdom and insight gradually worn away and dropped away the preferences, the like and dislike, the wanting and hating, that those preferences all get worn down. And then at that point, in that state of not being disturbed, it's possible to have the maximum capacity for clear seeing. So equanimity has both the quality of stillness and the quality of being a space where one can see things truly accurately as they are. And so if you follow these practical steps to develop the 7 awakening factors, then those factors will continue. They are sustained by the fuel. And without that fuel, they don't continue. The next chapter of the Satipatthana Sutta is the part about the Four Noble Truths. And you see, this is how the culmination of the samatha is opening to panya, to wisdom. So when, to whatever extent you've developed, established, cultivated, and reached the maximum potential of these 7 qualities, which are cumulative qualities, they're all present. So that equanimity at the pinnacle of the factors of awakening contains all of the preceding 6 factors. And that is where you may have a chance to have the breakthrough of truly, fully, directly, personally for yourself, understanding the Four Noble Truths, which has been pointed out and explained in many ways by the Buddha. Welcome, Ryan, Uttara, Samasiha, Bhumika, Sudha, Torah, Eric. There's a few questions here. Sudha writes, Dear Ayyā, recently I was trying to focus on Appamana aspect of my metta and Avarena aspect for some reason. I can't reconcile metta with my own mind, which finds aversion to perceived racism towards me and others. It's become a hindrance when I go back and spread metta to those individuals. How do I recommend it so I shall move ahead to at least Upachara Samadhi, which is that's the called neighborhood concentration, or the state just before full Samadhi. I think that, in a certain way, racism is kind of like an abusive situation. And an ongoing abusive situation is much more difficult than a catastrophe that just happens and it's finished. So if your house burns down, you can grieve and go through the traumatic response to that disaster that fell on you. And then you can come to the end of your grieving process and get over it and go on to the next stage of your life. But when you're around, if you're with somebody who's close to you, who's compulsively abusive, then you don't have a chance to grieve for it because it keeps getting renewed again and again. It's similar to that if you're in close with somebody in your life who's a drug addict or who's really in a group of addiction and is doing so many unskillful, harmful, inconsiderate, and hurtful things because they're trying to take care of feeding their addiction. And you would have definitely be in second place, or maybe a very low second place compared to the substance of addiction. So it's the same thing with somebody who's got such a training or a conditioning in their life that they've become so deluded that they think that hatred is good, and who's become made it seem some way enjoyable, that there's something that they're getting something good out of disparaging, putting down other people. One thing to do is, in a way, if you understand it, the way it works psychologically is, as far as what I understand, is that a racist, every person has within themselves things that they are happy about and things that they feel ashamed of. We all have these things within us. So a person who is trained by their culture to be a racist is trained to think that all of the good qualities belong to them and that the bad qualities belong to the other. And so they project all of the things that a normal person might feel remorse about. They project it as blaming somebody else. But the cure for that state is to realize that whatever thing that you're imagining that the other people are able to do, if you look within, you could see that actually you could be capable of doing those horrible things. So it actually doesn't just belong to them, like I'm the good one and they're the bad one. It might be that there's a sort of a popular form of the Tonglen practice that's given by Pema Chodron. In many of her books, they're widely available. She's a really good teacher who's very compatible with Vipassana and compatible with Western thought. And this Tonglen practice is a practice when you breathe in, you think of taking into yourself whatever in the world is dark, painful, and miserable. And when you breathe out, you give back the light. And this is a really, really, really challenging, because it's the opposite of what everybody wants to do. What we want to do is we want to have the light inside of us and let the darkness be away from us. So that this very interesting and challenging to the ego is to say, to accept the darkness, accept what's painful, accept what's difficult, and to know that because of our Buddha nature and because of the Dhamma, that it's possible that everything evil and horrible is able to be dispelled, abandoned, and released, so that the only thing left is the clear light of the luminous mind. The mind is luminous. It's naturally luminous, except when it's covered by adventitious developments. Like the sky is naturally pure blue, except when it's covered by clouds. So, that would be one suggestion, or to do what's necessary to purify that. But it's also true that a person, I'm going to make a racism similar to abuse. If there's an abusive situation, part of the cure is being able to name it, to call it out. So, at a practical level, it can be wholesome and beneficial to call out racism when you see it. And then it's also true in an abusive situation, sometimes you would like to call out the abuse, but it's not safe to do so, right? So in that case, someone who's experiencing abuse needs to take themselves away to a safe place, and they may not be able to directly confront the abuser. And to withdraw in that way is an aspect of self-care. But you're doing that self-care, finding that safe space for yourself, with an idea that your process will not be finished until it's possible to have reconciliation with the abuser. And that would mean both forgiveness and being able to name what's happening. So it might be that the abuse of a person or persons, that you never get a chance to reconcile with them. And it's a little bit it's better if you can, but if you can't, maybe they died, and so you don't have a chance to talk to them. But then you should, like internally within yourself, you should do some kind of practice of asking forgiveness and giving forgiveness for the people who have hurt you. So I say, very good to take this as a real problem and don't just try to sweep it up with the Dhamma practice, but instead use our practical methods to develop loving kindness, do all the good things we do in the Dhamma, but also study about racism until you understand it and how to be effective in coping with racism. The question continued. I did have a Bachara Samadhi with Metta. Oh, good. Congratulations. So keep trying. Now we have Ryan. Dear Ayyā, what is the role of keeping celibacy for a lay practitioner, and what practical function or benefit does it bring to our practice, whether if kept extendedly versus minimally, please? When a person, if we assume that love and sex goes together, that then all of our neediness and attachment connected to love can definitely create instability and disturbance. So if you're not able to be happy by yourself, but you have to, have a partner to be happy, then there can be a lot of different kinds of anxiety and possessiveness about that. So then if you are single and celibate, and you are able to then find that you can be happy all by yourself, that you have your own happiness, you don't need to get your happiness from somebody else, then that is a tremendous support for practice, for being a spiritually mature. It is possible for somebody to who's got that maturity of being really clear about being the owner of their own happiness, the owner of their own practice, that then they can have a family, and they don't necessarily have to lose that self-sufficiency. In a way, like for most people, sex and love is, in a certain way, is kind of like the highest good. Like a lot of people in the world, if you ask them, like, what's really important to you, and they would say, I love my wife and I love my children, and that's my whole world. It's the highest good in my life is the love that I give, and so in a certain kind of way, not to disparage the value of family life, but that becomes a block to realizing spiritual happiness. A person who's really reached the goal in spiritual happiness will not have any kind of like a preference for their own spouse or their own children. They would just be, they'll be filled with loving kindness, compassion, sympathy, and equanimity at all times for all people, but they wouldn't have that special preference, and celibacy supports that. What constitutes keeping perfect sila, please? Because of the 5 precepts are kept after 9 or 10 occasionally. What is the type of negative, unwholesome kama vipaka we would still be creating for ourselves that would affect our future rebirth negatively? Yeah. A person who's keeping 5 precepts is earning a living. And it's inevitable when you earn a living that you will be depriving others of their life. It's said that among the species in the world, all of the different kinds of animals in the world, and all the different plants in the world, every kind of living animal and living plant in the world needs to take up the byproduct of other living plants and living animals in order to live. So the life, it's like a snake eating its tail. The life process, this is including both the animal world and the vegetable world. Okay, so life eats life. There's only one creature in the world that I know about. It's some kind of a worm that lives in the geysers at the bottom of the ocean, and it's able to directly metabolize the chemicals that are spewing out from the geyser in order to live. So it doesn't require any organic material in order to live. But life consumes life. And if you've ever had a garden, it's extremely difficult or possibly impossible to grow a crop and to get it to the table and into your stomach without killing a bug. And then in the way the world is, like, you drive a car, you're killing a lot of bugs while driving a car. And you're in this, we're in an economy and in a culture that does got as the competition and the harm is sort of like built into it. So then when the monastics withdraw from the world, actually we know that when somebody brings a dana, that many insects gave their life in the process of that dana coming to be. And we know that it's a bit of an artificial distinction to say that, well, we didn't intentionally choose to kill those insects that died to make my broccoli. We didn't intentionally decide to cut down the vast swathes of the forest to ruin the habitat for so many creatures in order to get that tomato. So for that reason, we're not like Jains. We know that it's not, that at the behavior level, there's no purity to be had anywhere. But then that begs the question, or it takes us to come right to the nub that it's within the deepest part of our intentions. So if we are really going as deep and close as we can to purify our intentions, then like we accept the food that came to us, but we don't require the food on a given day. If whatever, if the food doesn't come, or if it's not what we wanted, to be really neutral about what happens, and also to really acknowledge how much pain is living in that tomato. And to in a way express our gratitude to all of the beings who sacrifice so much to create that food. So that's part of that practice. So a perfect sila of a stream winner, a person would be not capable of breaking the 5 precepts. So to actually the full perfection of the 5 precepts is really good for sila. The additional precepts are really more like training practices that helps us to confront and to see our desires and aversions, and to simplify the life in order to be able to uncover the craving. Because if all of the things that you crave, if you just constantly just automatically get everything that you crave, you never realize that you craved anything, because you were never without it. You never suffered. It's just everything just comes to you, and so I don't have any craving. As I have the comfortable bed and the perfect life and the warm house and all these things, but that's, we see how phony and how false that is. And so the amount of the allowable safe practices of deprivation that we have with the higher precepts are designed to make us see when we do without something, where the craving is, and to then be able to overcome that craving. If a person is attentive to consider the acts of body, speech, and mind, and if the sila that they do includes not only their words and their actions, but also their thoughts, that they become unwilling to entertain a thought of cruelty or a thought of harming, that would be the perfection of the sila. Okay, so that's all the questions, and I think our timing is good. It's 9:00, so thank you for your patient listening tonight. Sadhu, 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 anamodami.